I went to my fiancé's company to drop off his homemade lunch, but his secretary stopped me. Ms. Grace, who are you looking for? Do you have an appointment? The surrounding employees snickered behind their hands, and not a single person spoke up for me. I pulled out my phone and dialed the HR manager. Fire from the secretary's department. With eyes red from tears, she ran off to complain, and Ethan reprimanded me. Chloe didn't recognize you, she just made a mistake. Why are you so harsh? I scoffed. I'm wearing the company's signature design for this season, one of a kind. If she couldn't recognize that, she's either blind or stupid. Ethan, my fiancé, heard my words and glanced at Chloe. The latter, with eyes red, apologized to me. I'm sorry, Ms. Grace, it was my mistake. Please don't fire me, I desperately need this job. I sat on the couch and cast a dismissive glance. She was brazen, though she apologized to me, her eyes were fixed solely on Ethan, and her gaze towards me held a subtle hint of defiance. Ethan frowned. Grace, she's new here and unfamiliar with things. Why do you have to quibble over every little thing with her? You can go now, Grace won't blame you. Chloe nodded quickly. As she turned to leave, closing the door behind her, she shot me a challenging smirk. I suddenly found it amusing. Ethan had changed. As his secretary, she should be intimately familiar with the company's designs. Calling her an all-rounder wouldn't be an exaggeration. Yet now, he allowed a newcomer to occupy such an important position. Not only that, even his company employees tacitly accepted Chloe's presence. They even showed no respect whatsoever to me, his future wife. It seemed Ethan had emboldened her. He even allowed her to humiliate me. Seeing my silence, Ethan patted the back of my hand. I see you're becoming short-tempered lately, threatening to fire someone over a minor incident. Grace, later you can order a coffee break to cheer up Chloe, the poor girl scared stiff. Hearing that, I laughed in exasperation. Indeed, biased men are truly repulsive. I stood up, walked closer to him, took out the homemade lunch, and dumped it directly onto his face. Then, I grabbed the crystal desk plaque from his desk and smacked him hard with it. Ethan yelped from the blow, looked up with a face full of disbelief, and then roared, Grace, you've gone mad. I pulled out a tissue, wiped my hands, and calmly said, yes, I must be mad to have tolerated you walking all over me and lording it over me. Ethan, go play with your little girl. I'm done dealing with you. After all, I'm the elder here, we clearly have a generation gap. With that, I stormed out, slamming the door. Chloe, who had been waiting outside, shrieked when she saw the scene. Meeting my icy gaze, she was too terrified to utter a word. I strode off in my heels, heading straight to Arthur's place to call off the engagement. Predictably, he backhanded me across the face. Grace, what the hell are you thinking? You're backing out after getting engaged? How could the Thompson family agree to this? Not to mention, our two families have too many interconnected interests to just decide to break off. I scoffed, so I'm supposed to endure a worthless scoundrel? Is he cheating? I hesitated, unsure, but given his personality, even if he wasn't physically cheating, he was at least emotionally straying. More importantly, he was protecting that young secretary. Arthur sighed, men are all the same, they let women bear the consequences of their indiscretions. But it's enough for you to be Mrs. Thompson. You need to remember, the alliance between our families isn't just about the two of you. I'll talk some sense into him in a few days, and this matter will blow over. I knew it was pointless to argue further with him. Men are all the same, they let women bear the consequences of their indiscretions. My mother endured his provocations her whole life, now he wants me to be calm. A resentful woman too? I can't do that. As I came out of the home office, the butler told me Ethan had arrived. I didn't want to see him, but Arthur said, let him in, I'll talk to him. Ethan had changed his clothes. When he saw me, his face was grim, but then he noticed my swollen face and paused. Grace. I turned and left. Since this path with Arthur was blocked, I would find another way. Riverside City was ablaze with lights that night. Inside Haven, it was just her and me. Sage looked at me, a hint of disdain in her eyes. He calls the shots in the Thompson family. If you want to call off the engagement, why didn't you talk to Ethan directly? I heard you were going to marry Gu just to be a stepping stone for Ethan's ambition? She looked at me, frowning deeply. The feeling is mutual, isn't it the same for you? What if I told you I could help you escape this fate? Sage scoffed, Grace, you can't even control your own life, and you think you can rescue me? In response, I pushed a set of documents across to her. When she saw what they were, her eyes lit up, and she said gravely, how reliable is this? If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. I can only tell you these are facts I uncovered by using all my connections. After a few seconds of silence, Sage spoke, "How do you want me to cooperate?" I smiled. This was the kind of partner I needed. It was past 9 p.m. when I left the club again. Sage left, arm in arm with a male escort. I still had a young Leo accompanying me. He tilted his head and asked, "Beautiful, where are we going now?" Just as I was about to speak, I heard a furious voice. "Grace, you're calling off our engagement for this guy?" I turned to face Ethan's furious face and couldn't help but sigh. How annoying. Chloe was with him. Hearing that, Chloe dramatically covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Ms. Grace, what is this?" I looked up and glared at her. My piercing gaze made her shrink back instantly, hiding behind Ethan. "Leo Basse." Demi scoffed, "This guy's crow's feet could trap a fly. Don't stay up so late at night, drink more herbal tea." Ethan's face darkened. I patted Leo's shoulder, signaling him to leave first. "See you next time." Right in front of Ethan, I exchanged WhatsApp details with Leo. He winked at me, "See you next time, beautiful." I interacted with him as if no one else was there. Just as I was about to get into my car, Ethan could no longer contain himself and grabbed my wrist. "What's the meaning of this?" "As you can see, just out having some fun, a casual fling. Why are you so worked up?" Hearing that, his expression immediately softened considerably. Chloe hadn't expected Ethan's anger to dissipate so quickly after just a few words from me. She immediately interjected, "Still, Ms. Grace, you." "Shut up. Ethan, your secretary is incredibly disrespectful. I am Grace, and I don't have sisters like her. Get that straight." Hearing that, Chloe's eyes immediately welled up. My face full of disdain, I said, "As your secretary, does she have such little resilience? Ethan, the Thompson family poured all its resources into propping you up, and you still end up with such a worthless individual. If there's ever a business meeting, for heaven's sake, don't take her out to embarrass yourself." With that, I turned to leave, but Ethan held me tightly. "I'll drive you home." "No need, I'm driving." "Have your driver take it back." He handed the keys to the driver behind us and pulled me into his car. But the moment he opened the passenger door, I snorted with exasperation. Ethan followed my gaze, and when he saw the cartoon stickers plastered on the passenger seat, his face darkened. I slammed the car door shut, snatched my keys from the driver, and walked straight to my own car. I left him in a cloud of exhaust fumes, but Ethan chased after me recklessly. My phone was ringing off the hook. When I stopped at a traffic light, he shouted through the car window, "Grace." I ignored him. Chasing on the highway was extremely dangerous. The moment the light turned green, I floored the accelerator and sped off, but he was courting disaster, constantly tailgating me. Without a second thought, I called the traffic police and reported him. By the next intersection, he was pulled over. The moment he saw the police, his face went utterly white. Finally, the world was quiet. The incident of Ethan getting pulled over by the traffic police in his luxury car still spread like wildfire. It even made the trending news. His identity was also dug up, and Thompson flew into a rage, ordering Ethan to issue a public apology. Originally, if everyone had just ignored it, it wouldn't have mattered. Over time, people would definitely forget. Not to mention, it was just a car chase. If I hadn't pressed charges at the time, nothing would have come of it. Who knew he would actually go to Sage and ask her to handle the public relations? Ethan was too arrogant to issue a public apology, so the opportunity to express regret was given to Sage. Sage, however, did the exact opposite. She released a lengthy statement, proactively apologizing on Ethan's behalf, saying he shouldn't have been speeding or disregarded public safety, infuriating Ethan. The two had a huge fight, but that's a story for another time. What surprised me was that even at this critical juncture, Chloe still tried to add me on WhatsApp. When I saw the WhatsApp contact request, I burst out laughing. This young secretary really doesn't shy away from trouble. I ignored her, but she was relentless. "Ms. Grace, if you're smart, you'll break up with Mr. Ethan immediately. You're not good enough for him. You're a 30-year-old woman, in a few more years, you'll be going through menopause. Can you bear him children? Are you too guilty to add me? Don't think your engagement makes you special. Mr. Ethan bought me property, and he said as long as I stay by his side, he'll fulfill my every need. Believe it or not, Anyo. You are birthday, all it takes is one call from me, and he'll be right back by my side." Seeing all this, I suddenly got an idea. I accepted her friend request, which absolutely thrilled Chloe. She immediately sent me voice messages and various photos. In truth, Ethan and she hadn't gone that far yet, it was just a bit of flirting. I was well aware of all this, but the photos Chloe sent were highly suggestive. I admit Chloe was an innocent-looking co-ed, pretty enough to tempt any man. But self-control and reason are standard for successful people, and Ethan clearly lacked self-control. I saved them all and just sent one message: the alliance between our families is urgent. If you're so capable, make Ethan call off the engagement. I suggested it, but he refused. What now? Chloe was furious and never replied again, but I knew she would definitely make her move on Ethan. Perfect. As long as I could get rid of Ethan, using Chloe wouldn't hurt. The matter on the trending news was quickly suppressed. The family spent a fortune. Sage was beaming with laughter when she told me, the old man told him to lie low recently, and even to apologize to you. Ethan bought you a gift, lucky you, you brat. Hearing that, I was merely dismissive. Do you believe it? The gift he bought will absolutely not reach my hands. What's the bet? The district project. No problem. She agreed without hesitation. 2 days later was my birthday. Ethan invited me to dinner, and he was a full 40 minutes late. When he finally arrived, he carried a sickly sweet perfume scent. Coincidentally, Chloe had posted on social media, visible only to me. My crush bought me a gift, and it happens to be the old woman's birthday, so he has to rush over there. Within 10 minutes, I'll have him back by my side. Chloe was wearing a sexy off-the-shoulder dress, with a hotel as the backdrop. In front of her was a box, and inside lay the very gift that was supposed to be for me. I had once mentioned to Ethan that I liked sapphire necklaces, and he had adamantly promised to buy one if I liked it. But now, that necklace was in Chloe's hands. She sent me another message: old woman, Ethan said I'm his true love. Just step aside. I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Ethan. Deal with your kept woman. Ethan, the engagement is off. I'm serious. Ethan didn't reply. I didn't know if he was afraid to face it or for some other reason. I sent Chloe's social media post to Sage, and she immediately replied with a question mark, and he really gave it to her. Yes. If I'm not mistaken, this brand is a long-term partner of your company, and this series is called Eternal. You lost. Sage, damn. Ethan is such an idiot. Me, remember to give me the Riverbend project. I closed my phone. Ethan arrived, and as soon as he sat down, he apologized. Traffic was terrible. Happy birthday. He handed me a box. I glanced at the street lights outside and couldn't help but scoff. What an effort for him. Open it and see if you like it. I opened the box, and inside lay a Barbie pink rhinestone hairpin. Did pick this gift? He paused for a moment, then nodded. Yes, she said as a fellow woman, she helped pick it out. What do you think? I don't like it, it's too tacky. Ethan's face darkened. I'll choose something new later. Don't be angry, she was just well-intentioned. It seemed he hadn't even checked my WhatsApp. Never mind. I didn't say anything, just continued to cut my steak. But it wasn't long before his phone rang. After he answered, Chloe's sobbing could be heard. Ethan, the pipe burst. I'm soaked through, and reception won't help me. Please come quickly. Okay, I'll be right there. After hanging up the phone, he stood up to leave, then suddenly remembered something and turned to me. Grace, I'll come back a bit later. Without looking up, I said, if it's urgent, go take care of it. Perhaps my attitude was too calm, as he hesitated to speak, but ultimately left. The next second, my phone lit up. It was from Chloe. How about that? Didn't I tell you? You're really impressive, but can you actually make him call off the engagement with me? Making him leave isn't a true skill, you need the entire Thompson family to agree. After I sent that message, she didn't reply again. Soon after, I saw that Chloe had posted another photo. Ethan was kissing the soaking wet Chloe in his arms. She actually took that picture just to provoke me. I smiled and saved it. I compiled all the photos of him and Chloe's affair during this period into an album and then emailed it to Ethan and all the shareholders of their company. Attached message: if the engagement isn't called off, it'll be in the papers tomorrow. I didn't believe they could still endure it. It turned out the Thompson family was truly shameless. Sage was beaming with laughter when she called me. Grace, you wouldn't believe it, the old man's face turned purple with rage. He came back and beat Ethan up, telling him to apologize to you. He's even suspended him, and now I've taken over completely. I let out a sigh of relief. Then you really need to seize this opportunity. Although the Riverbend project was given to me, your help is indispensable, and our two families' cooperation will continue as usual. Just watch. Once the engagement is called off, I'll buy you a drink. After I hung up the phone, Thompson arrived at our house with Ethan. Seeing me, Thompson, abandoning his usual disdain, directly presented me with a share transfer agreement. This time, Ethan has been too troublesome. Grace, our two families know each other inside and out. He made a mistake this time, and I've severely punished him. Here are 5% of the shares as compensation." He looked at me with a solemn expression. "You are the young woman both our families favor, and this alliance is imminent, it cannot be cancelled." Ethan was foolish, he made a mistake, misled by that woman. You can beat him or scold him, whatever you wish. Now, get down on your knees. Ethan remained stubbornly defiant, refusing to kneel. The next second, his own father kicked him in the knee, forcing him to the ground. Seeing this scene, I just smiled. Ethan was actually quite ugly, just as Leo had said that day, his crow's feet had indeed appeared. Ethan and I were the same age. A 30-year-old woman is like a richly fragrant flower, intense and alluring. A 30-year-old man who doesn't take care of himself and messes around with women ends up with dark circles under his eyes. A body hollowed out by desire is not a pretty sight. Seeing in this state, I suddenly felt relieved. "Mr. Thompson, I want 10%. Otherwise, I'll release everything immediately." "What did you say? Don't be too outrageous." Ethan immediately stood up. "Grace, you're making exorbitant demands. You're not even married to me yet, and you want so many shares. What if it's just 10%? Are you afraid I'll use them to take your position?" My words silenced him. Thompson hesitated. I continued, "You can add a clause to this share transfer agreement. Even if I leave, these shares will remain with the Thompson, and I won't take a single cent with me. I just want to leave myself an out, and make Ethan think about the price he paid today whenever he decides to cheat again in the future." Thompson agreed. With 10% of the shares in hand, I planned to sell them to Sage later. Let those siblings fight each other for it, all I wanted was money. Chloe grew anxious. Learning that the Thompson family had given me shares, she couldn't sit still and asked to meet me. I dressed carefully and went straight to the appointment. Seeing me, Chloe's face was full of resentment. "You're very smug, aren't you, Grace? If I were at the same stage and height as you, Ethan wouldn't even give you a second glance." I scoffed. "Do you know how many heiresses your age there are in Riverside City? Do you know why the Thompson family chose me?" Chloe remained silent. I tapped the table. "Beck. Oz in Riverside City, only our Who family can help the Thompson family reach new heights. You may be pretty, but you're young and frivolous. Those older than him don't have as much wealth as the Thompson family. Only and I are equally matched. So when they choose a daughter-in-law, they want someone who can stand shoulder to shoulder with him, not someone like you." I lifted her chin. "You are indeed pretty and young, but apart from that, you have nothing impressive to offer. Sweetheart, do you understand what I'm saying?" Her face instantly turned pale. I curled my lips into a smirk. "Honestly, I didn't want to say too much to you, but since you insisted on meeting me, I had no choice but to lay bare the harsh truth. I don't care who Ethan is. What I care about are the benefits I gain from the alliance between our families." She couldn't help but raise her voice. "You're treating him like a tool." I was unfazed. "So what? Aren't you treating him like a tool too? Otherwise, why would you cling to him so desperately? I may be an old woman, but a wealthy 30-year-old woman is far more desirable than a girl in her 20s with nothing to her name." I patted her face, then pinched her cheek, making her whimper with pain. "Next time you decide to provoke me, remember who you're dealing with. I'm not always this good-tempered. If you can't get Ethan to marry you, don't bother me. I'm busy." After that, she didn't come looking for me for a month, and neither did Ethan. Perhaps it was because I had demanded too much from the Thompson family. Ethan probably wanted to give me the silent treatment to force me to yield. I was glad to have some peace. A month later, news broke: Chloe was pregnant. She officially announced the good news on social media. Sage called me. The old man relented, telling him to keep the woman as a mistress and secure the heir, dismiss the mother. "Forget it. I'm not raising someone else's child. Let's lay our cards on the table." Over the past few months, Sage had been steadily building her own power base, systematically removing all of Ethan's cronies. She had now completely taken control. The projects she managed tripled in profit, and Thompson couldn't help but look at her with new respect. Now, Sage had a voice in the Thompson family's upper echelons. And on my end, I also played my hand. Thinking of this, I took the 10% shares, the project contract, and the follow-up business proposal, and went to the home office. I spread them all out. My objective was singular: to call off the engagement. Arthur looked at the items I had presented and couldn't help but frown. "Do you really want to call off the engagement? It's just a mistress, isn't it easy enough to deal with her? The family's business still relies on mutual benefit. Although you've presented these, it's far from enough." I smiled. I'm already laying the groundwork for a branch company. I've also contacted the Andre family. My capabilities match my ambition, and what I bring to you is far more than just an alliance. Dad, since I have money and capability, what kind of man can't I find? If I call off the engagement with him, the Thompson family's cooperation will still continue, and there's also Sage. The district project is something we're jointly advancing, and she even conceded a percentage. That single percentage is enough to elevate us to a new level. Whether is involved or not, the outcome will be the same. Why shouldn't I choose someone who will never betray me? Hearing me say that, he hesitated, but in the end, he tacitly agreed. News of the engagement being called off reached the Thompson family, and Thompson was furious. He never expected our family to still propose calling off the engagement, especially since it had only been a month since Ethan admitted his mistake. He and Eleanor came to our house, and both sides met face to face to discuss the matter. Without a word, I pulled out Chloe's ultrasound report and pushed it across. I don't tolerate messy situations. Not even married yet, and he's already got mistresses and side partners, even an illegitimate child. My family won't stoop that low. I'm not some soft-hearted person. There's no telling if this little thing ends up in my hands, I might just crush it. Hearing that, both of them immediately swallowed their words. Arthur, meanwhile, said, I can't control what young people do, but the child should not suffer. Eleanor couldn't hold back. But it was agreed upon initially, the cooperation between our families cannot stop. Now that you're calling off the engagement, the projects and profit distribution must be made clear. I smiled at her. Of course, the projects won't stop. Sage and I will become permanent partners. Hearing that, she exploded. How can that be? How can she compare to Ethan? My is a man. I spread my hands. But has caused quite a lot of trouble, and his lack of capability is obvious. The projects he managed during his tenure were all secured with my help. The few projects he independently ran not only lost money but also caused loss of life. Sage, however, is different. Even for a woman, securing the heir and dismissing the father is perfectly acceptable. After all, you're well versed in this concept. Hearing my sarcasm, Eleanor panicked. But, she was speechless. Sage was the child of the first wife. After the first wife's passing, Thompson married Eleanor, who then gave birth to Ethan. The rivalry between Sage and Ethan was already heated, and now it seemed they were set to completely oust Ethan. And without my support, how could she not be anxious? Not to mention, Eleanor, as his mother, knew exactly what kind of person Ethan was. Thompson, however, was more open-minded. Since they were all Thompson family members either way, he had no objections and agreed almost without a second thought. Eleanor tried to speak again, but he scolded her, that's enough. Look at the fine son you've raised. Couldn't just live a decent life, had to go get a mistress. Eleanor clenched her fists, her face livid with rage. I smiled sweetly at him. Although the engagement is off, as I said, even if I'm not around one day, the shares will remain with the Thompson family. So, I've already given this 10% to Sage. Eleanor instantly exploded in rage, pointing at me. Grace, how dare you? Those are my sons. Those belong to the Thompson family, how are they your sons? Mr. Thompson, I wasn't aware that Mrs. Eleanor was so eager to divide the assets while you're still alive and well. Thompson looked at her with a displeased expression. Eleanor stammered, unable to speak. We've imposed on you today, so we'll proceed as you suggested. They stormed in and stormed out. Watching their retreating figures, I sent a message to Sage. When she returned, she would face her family's fury. But I thought, if she couldn't even handle Eleanor, she wouldn't deserve to establish herself in the Thompson family. When I shifted my support to Sage, Ethan finally realized he had no support in the company either, and he grew anxious. He came looking for me, but by then, I was already in the Riverbend supervising work and had no time to deal with him. It wasn't until Arthur called me that I learned Ethan had been waiting for me at the company for the past 2 days. With no other choice, I made time to return. Ethan saw me and immediately rushed towards me. Grace! He came over holding a bouquet of roses. Seeing the vibrant and fresh flowers, I smiled. We had been together for 4 years, and the flowers Ethan sent me were always either lilies or yellow roses. Passionate roses, however, were a first. Thank you. After taking the flowers, I led him to a coffee shop, not even letting him enter the company building. Seeing this, he couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. Grace, I never intended to hurt you so deeply. I know you can't accept this. I'll make Chloe abort the child, and from now on, there will be no obstacles between us anymore. Please don't be angry anymore, come back to me, okay? Hearing him speak like this, I found it ridiculous. After knowing him for so many years, it was the first time he had humbled himself to speak to me like this. In the past, Ethan was always haughty, and while he was patient with me, it was never overly so. He would often put me off with work excuses, but this was the first time he had ever begged me. Sweet talk meant nothing to me. Chloe doesn't want to leave you, though. I showed him my phone. You say you'll make her abort the child, but she's already resting to ensure a healthy pregnancy. She's staying at the best elite center, and the luxury natal retreat has already been arranged. What's in her belly is the Thompson family's first grandchild. Even if you want to abort it, will your mother agree? Hearing that, his face instantly turned pale. I smiled. Honestly, you don't need to beg me. You know I've always despised men who live off women. Ethan immediately stood up. Grace, what are you saying? Am I wrong? At home, you live off your sister, outside, you rely on me. Without my business proposals in the company, could you have so easily risen to that position? If I hadn't helped you, you would have fallen from power in just 3 months. Can't you still figure that out? Do you know why your father didn't choose you to inherit the company? Because you're incompetent. Young girls can't see past your halo and think it's your essence. In reality, you're nothing but a pile of mud. Everyone knew how Eleanor had used her own means to get to her position back then. His intelligence was simply not commensurate with his position. Ethan's face flushed red from my scolding. Grace, you're always so condescending. Things I could never figure out, you can make clear with a single sentence. It's enlightening. Everyone in the company says you're my capable assistant, and that your guidance is always GHT. But why? I'm the man. You're a man, but you're irresponsible and unfaithful. You're apologizing to me now only because you've lost your support and can't hold on anymore. If I'm not mistaken, your mother probably sent you here. Ethan, this is where it ends. Otherwise, I will expose everything about your affairs. Hearing me say that, he flushed with shame and anger. I waved him away, but Ethan was indignant. Grace, you'll regret this. An old maid your age will never find anyone. The words had barely left his mouth when I saw Leo, the model I had arranged to meet with that day, approaching from not too far away. I had been busy dealing with them recently and only just found some free time today. He walked towards me, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, which he handed to me. Then, he put his arm around my shoulder and turned to look at Ethan, whose face turned ashen. You guys. I leaned into his embrace and said to Ethan, Leo has a great physique and even better stamina. Who knows how much better he is than you? With that, I walked away with him. Behind us, Ethan's voice broke with frustration. Grace, you're absolutely outrageous. I scoffed. This was outrageous? Even more outrageous things were yet to come. Sage swiftly stripped him of all his power, uncovering Ethan's embezzlement of company funds, taking kickbacks, and even scamming his own company. Thompson was so furious that he gave him a severe beating and recalled his shares. Eleanor was unwilling and argued for a long time, but Sage dismissed her with one sentence: keep making a fuss, and you won't even get dividends. Chloe is still out there resting to ensure a healthy pregnancy, you know. Eleanor immediately quieted down. When invited me for a drink, she sighed contentedly. I never imagined it could be this exhilarating. You wouldn't believe how hilarious it was watching that mother and son look at me, furious and helpless, unable to defeat me. I never intended to be their enemy, why we're just too overbearing. I patted her shoulder. Alright, they say women who get angry easily age faster, so don't bother with them. A woman who climbed up the ranks like her, what real capability does she have? She'll still have to rely on you later. Let's put Ethan's matters aside. We still have our own lives to live. We exchanged a smile, each with a male escort by our side, when Ethan suddenly appeared. When I saw him again, he was haggard. The moment our eyes met, he furiously rushed over to me. I knew it. You two were in contact all along, planning to team up and suppress me, weren't you? Sage, you're just a woman. How dare you contend with me? Sage looked at me. Sorry to make you witness this farce. Then she stood up and slapped him hard. Why? Because this company was built with my mother's dowry. After my mother passed, your mother shamelessly tried to contend with me. Ethan, you're a worthless individual. Get lost. I'll beat you every time I see you. Ethan was enraged. Sage, you old maid who can't get married. Sage gave the order, and her bodyguards dragged him out and beat him until he apologized. I watched Ethan getting beaten and couldn't help but find it amusing. Why does he never learn his lesson? Who knows? As brainless as his mother. I smiled without a word. The video of Ethan getting beaten went viral online. Especially the part where he was stubbornly defiant, yelling that Sage was nothing but an old woman, sparking a hot topic of discussion among netizens. I'm only 30, and now I'm an old woman. Yeah, being 30 is a crime. I don't even dare to go out, afraid of running into people like Ethan. Does he think he's especially young? He's 32, and with those crow's feet and wrinkles around his eyes, he clearly looks like a womanizer. Doesn't he age? Or does he think he'll be forever young? And he's cussing out his own half-sister. How could such a scumbag ever become the Thompson heir? Fun fact, he was already cat out a long time ago. It was his sister's bodyguards who beat him. After a few months apart, the once haughty heir apparent had become a pitiable man, beaten and kicked around. Someone dug up the old video of him chasing me, leaking the news that Ethan had been caught cheating by me, and I refused to forgive him, which was why he was chasing me when the traffic police apprehended him. His subsequent punishment was also due to his disrespectful remarks towards his sister, and even Chloe's pregnancy was exposed. So, it turns out the mistress was trying to take over. How fitting. His own mother was a mistress who took over, and then he also found a mistress. His former fiancée, the Who family heiress, was incredibly beautiful and radiant. Men just can't resist chasing novelty, but he never deserved grace. Netizens subjected him to public condemnation, the Thompson stock became volatile, and Sage stepped in to stabilize the situation, openly declaring that Ethan would be expelled from the company. The family would always support the legitimate spouse, and they supported me. This move shocked netizens and also garnered a lot of goodwill. Sage seized this opportunity to purge all the old guard within the inn who didn't support her, successfully taking the chairman's seat. Thompson had no choice but to relinquish all power and live out his golden years at home. Eleanor was also kicked out by Thompson and moved into a small apartment with Chloe and the others. Chloe was still dreaming big after giving birth, but she was soon kicked out of the elite center for failing to pay the fees. Seeing who had nothing left, she completely broke down. It just so happened that Thompson's kept woman became pregnant. Eleanor, in a fit of rage, went to confront her, pushing her down and almost causing a miscarriage. Thompson, furious, filed for divorce, preferring to start a new life rather than continue living with her. Ethan was completely discarded. Chloe, ever cunning, had an abortion and tried to make a run for it, but Ethan discovered her plan. Realizing she had no love for him and was only after his money, Ethan, in a fit of rage, pushed her down the stairs. Chloe, having just had an abortion, was caught off guard. After being pushed, she fell and suffered a massive hemorrhage, almost losing her life. Eleanor desperately sought mediators and even knelt down to beg for mercy. Chloe then demanded a large sum of money and disappeared without a trace. When was released, he was noticeably thinner, his face gaunt and his eyes hollow. He came to see me just as I was on a blind date with the Zhao family. Seeing me sitting in the restaurant, chatting and laughing pleasantly, he completely broke down. He turned and threw himself into oncoming traffic, immediately struck by a car and sent flying. Now he could no longer bother me. I turned my head, looking at the crowd that had gathered outside and listening to the sharp screech of brakes, taking a deep breath. Harrison asked what was wrong. I smiled, nothing at all. The man opposite me courteously pulled out my chair, but I noticed the ring indentation on his finger. Another man who was already taken, I thought. Forget it, just another tainted man. I didn't want him for myself, but discussing business, that could work. Harrison, let's make a deal. I pulled out my business proposal. Emotions could lie, but money never would. To have endless money to spend, that was my true pursuit.